going on, everybody? My name is Otto Von Clutch, and alongside my co-host, referee Amber. And tonight, what is going on, Ref Amber? And tonight, we are reviewing a very, very sad episode. Unlike last week with the ball shaving, this week was a very, very different vibe. We dive into episode 3, season 5 of the Terry Gordy final flight of the Freebird.
Yes.
And Ref Amber, let's do a deep dive into this and let's review this as students of wrestling, and let's just see what we learned from this.
Yeah, definitely. Opened up with him, didn't realize he started so young in the business. He dropped out of school, out of high school, started wrestling because of his size at the age of 14 on TV, just because he was such a giant boy.
Another prodigy, if you really think about it. At 14 years old, just being in the business. You know, I think of some wrestlers out there that have started off young, and I wasn't aware that he actually started so young. So once again, really educational to learn that about Terry.
Yeah, definitely.
So that was really neat that he started so young into the business.
Yes, definitely. And then we learned that in 1979, that's when he joined, he joined the Freebirds. And, you know, they definitely had that
chemistry, that connection.
Chemistry. They have the rock and roll look. They live the rock and roll lifestyle. You know, they live their gimmicks through and through, in and out of the ring.
Yeah, no doubt. So it goes into basically, really Jim Cornette just talking about, how they were running the territories for like 2 years strong, just selling out every venue, every state they go to. It's just a full house. The Von Erichs and the Freebirds had they were just a serious draw. There's no doubt about it. In the beginning of the episode, you kind of see things. They give you clips of different wrestlers that are going to be in the episode. You see Mick Foley, complimenting him, saying that Terry Gordy would make anybody look good. And then
if they're willing to pay the price.
If they were willing to pay the price.
Take that as you will.
And something I thought that was really, cute was when Miranda Gordy was showing her father's photos of him growing up and showing his report cards and how there was a few F's on the report card, and I could relate to that.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of hilarious. And, really get to reconnect and learn about his son again, how his son was in the business as Jesse, and also known as Slam Master Jay.
Yes. And then his son also on the episode, I thought it was really interesting, like sat him down at one point, told him, like, once you learn how this business works, you'll never want to do anything else. So it just truly shows his passion for the only thing he ever knew in life was professional wrestling.
Absolutely. And it really is a tearjerker. Get ready to cry. Get ready to just feel like really just sad afterwards, to be honest with you. They asked his son, once your father joined the Freebirds, when did the out of controlness start to happen? And he's saying it all was out of control from the very beginning. Yeah. So they go off. They're having this awesome feud with the Von Erichs. Gets in a bar fight. Gets arrested. Someone's talking to Miranda's mother, disrespecting her, so Terry's wife at the time. And he goes and, beats the shit out of this guy. Gets arrested. As he's getting handcuffed, he's fucking just bashing his fucking head against the fucking cop car, dinging it all up, messing it up, just being just wild, man.
Hands handcuffed behind his back.
Which I kind of admire, I'm not going to lie. I kind of admire that craziness of good old Terry Gordy. Then it's 1984, guys. Another fact that I was really, really intrigued by. In 1984, P.S. Michael Hayes, Terry Gordy, the Freebirds, they get the call. They get the call from Mr. McMahon. Mr. McMahon catches their eye. They go and they get a meeting. They have a meeting with Mr. McMahon. They don't even last supposedly a week in the WWE. they have this meeting, and during the meeting, Mr. Gordy just falls asleep, and he's sleeping. So they were very short-lived when they were in the WWF at the time. They were there for only a week, and passing out in Mr. McMahon's office is something just to kind of keep in mind, because later on we'll kind of go back to that. So he ends up falling asleep in Mr. McMahon's office. Long story short, the career in the WWE, the F, is not very long-lived. Terry goes off to Japan and starts wrestling in Japan. And he's not with the Freebirds no more. He's just wrestling by himself in the beginning.
I'm going to rewind just a little bit.
Rewind, please. Go right ahead.
Just to kind of say like how they were innovative in the fact that they were some of the first wrestlers to use theme music, Jim Cornette was saying. So a lot of times he was saying people would come out to just no music at all. They slip them the 8-track and.
Yeah, so that was one thing. They were very innovative when it came to that. They came out to the actual Freebird song by Leonard Skinner, and some of the first guys ever to come out to theme music. That is a good point that you are reminding. So he's over there in Japan. Both of his knees, both of his ACLs are out at the time. So he's already probably, I imagine at this point, consuming prescription pills. During the Freebirds, they were drinking a lot of beer, smoking a lot of weed, and so forth. It was the 70s, 80s. There was probably cocaine, everything else that's just, things that are not good for the body. So he's wrestling. He's still working with these torn ACLs, and he comes across Richard Simmons. Now, this is something that I definitely would love to find out in the future, but he comes across, I'm assuming, which is never good to assume because you make yourself look like an ass, but I'm assuming that he watches some Richard Simmons videos and he starts losing a whole bunch of weight, getting in really good shape, and he's looking really great.
Yeah, he went from 320 pounds to 265 pounds.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
So I like his daughter kind of got a chuckle telling that story. So that was fun. That was a good memory for her to have. So
then, man, it's June 1st, 1991. He has a match with Misawa. Yes, over there at was it the Kawasaki Classic? No, not yet. So he's over there, has this match with Misawa. It's just a freaking barn burner. One of the best matches, I guess. I got to go check that out.
Yeah, someone was saying normally, in Japan, it's dead silence. The crowd is just paying attention to what's going on. And they were just making noise, just rowdy as ever for this match. So
they were going crazy. What's up, Tombstone Jesus? Freebirds. Absolutely, bro. Fucking love the Freebirds, man. So basically, dude, bottom line, Terry Gordy was a master of his craft. From the age of 14 years old, he learned to respect the business, to understand what it meant to be part of it, and they documented it so well. This might be one of the best Dark Side of the Rings that I've seen from educational purposes and just from really learning about this individual. So he becomes a tag team with Dr. Death, Steve Williams. They become a tag team, man. And this tag team, I love how Mr. Jim Cornette describes it. You can imagine if we had two aliens drop down on Earth right now, if we could pick two of our meanest men on this planet, who would you want to face off against these aliens? And he was saying that you would want Dr. Death and you would want Terry Gordy to be there. So, man, it's just... he's over there in Japan, though, with them, doing the tag team gimmick with Dr. Death. Getting very homesick. He's missing his kids. He's missing being around his family. He really doesn't have no time for himself to reset his life. He's always on the road. 360
days out of the year.
That's it. And so now we start getting into the even more darker stuff, where it starts getting, really sad. He keeps battling with these demons, these addictions with drugs, alcohol, yada, yada, yada. It's not good.
The pills. He was taking sleeping pills to, help him on the flights, going back and forth to Japan so he could have, the energy to be awake once he lands, in Japan. So, he could give the match everything.
Yeah, so it was definitely just, it was a bummer, man. So they're going back to Japan from America, correct? He's with Dr. Death.
Yes,
They're going back to America. He's on the plane. He has an overdose, a real strong overdose. Dr. Death knows kind of a secret to slap him really hard to kind of wake him up, to kick him back into life. So Dr. Death does that, saves his life somewhat, starts performing CPR, gets him to a hospital. He's in a induced coma for a few days. His nephew, also a worker, a wrestler, is over there in Japan, Richard at the time. And his nephew is there bedside with Terry during this time when Terry's in the coma. He wakes up. Terry wakes up from this coma after a few days. Richard. And so now, you know, he wakes up from the coma. They don't really break down. He goes back home.
Yes.
Kind of resets.
Kind of gets some rehabilitation back at home, tries to get back to, you know, before his coma state. And but he never really did. I guess he had permanent physical and mental changes due to that coma.
Yeah, the coma, it was super heartbreaking, guys. So in this, they described how his lack of skills, his mental damage is done at this point. His nephew, Richard, at that time now has to retrain Terry how to work, how to wrestle. He forgot his, you know, something that he's done since he was 14 years old, so young in his life. Now he has to, you know, basically learn how to wrestle again. So Richard's over there being the awesome nephew that he is, that it seems that he is. And, you know,
he starts getting back on the indies again.
He gets back on the indies. He starts training to get back on the indies.
Jim Cornette hears word about him, you know, working the indie scene again.
Yeah, so Jim Cornette sees that, hey, you know, Terry's working the independent scene again. Oh, wow, that's real great. But of course, you know, I imagined Jim might have known about Terry having the, you know, still being kind of subdued or just not being the same Terry that he was. But Terry brought him in, or Jim brought him in, and it was just real heartbreaking. I guess, you know, everything was just, it wasn't good, right?
It's always different, you know, until you see somebody face to face to know what kind of condition they're in, you know, especially after the coma, after hearing that, and, you know, oh, he's working the indies, he must be back to normal.
Yeah, so he gets some working with Jim Cornette, and, you know, he's working over there in Smoky Mountain, and just Jim sees that something's definitely off. But, you know, it's not the same Terry. You know, he still could wrestle, but he was like going through the motions. And so he goes off and he wrestles with Cactus Jack. And they have a Kawasaki match, also known as the King of the Death match, right?
Yes.
It was the death match
Or I
tournament.
think it's the
death match tournament.
Yawasaki for the IWA.
Yes. So they have the match, and Cactus brings something out of Terry that night and tells him, you know, just really bring it into me, because I guess his punches weren't the same, you know, but he wanted to protect Terry and protect his legacy. And so, man, I guess they have a killer match. Definitely go check that one out. I'm definitely going to go check it out. He goes off into ECW, has a stint in ECW. And then it's really heartbreaking because in 1998, he does the RF video, which you really could tell that everything at that point is just, you know, it's his days are, the coma would really just did a number on him, and it's just really sad. Super heartbreaking.
Yeah, I don't know really why anybody would want to watch an interview like that and knowing what he had gone through.
Yeah, so he, you know, Mick Foley also mentioned that he was still, you know, I think doing a little bit of taking pills here and there and just taking what he could. And there was this incident where they were on a plane flight, and you know, he was just, some lady was taking some stuff next to him, and he offered, you know, he asked if he could have some, and she gave him some, and Yeah, yada yada yada. So it's really sad. It was a sad situation. He goes off into the WWE. He gets hired by Mr. McMahon, and he works an angle with Undertaker as the executioner.
Yes.
And they put him in a mask to protect the Terry Gordy gimmick.
Well, he was kind of working with Mick Foley and Paul Bearer at the time as the executioner. Then he had the match against the Undertaker.
Yes, absolutely. And it was just, once again, just super sad. You know, like, once again, so he gets fired from WWF. And I find it so odd. Like, it's like Mr. McMahon brings him in knowing that he has had this coma. He's not 100%. And I just, you know, it's just super heartbreaking that he even had to go to that extent to still have to, you know, provide for his family and have to, you know, just, there's just no insurance. It was just a bummer. It was really heartbreaking. It really was just damaging to see that. And yeah, it was super sad. And, you know, come down to the end, he gets a phone call. The son gets a phone call. He reflects on his dad and how at the time him and his son, Jesse, were having, you know, just being able to work out, and all those were some of the best times with his father, and being good friends, best friends with his dad. He was supposed to tag team with his dad, and he wasn't able to go that day when he was tag teaming with his dad. And he got a call the next day from, I believe it was Richard, saying, hey, you know, make sure are you on your knees right now? And was saying basically that he was overdosing and passing away, couldn't breathe, you know, yada, yada, yada. And, yeah, he passed away. And the cops, yeah, it was just, he passed away. So it was July 16th, 2021. Or, I'm sorry, 2001.
Yeah, 2001.
Pardon me, July 16th, 2001. And
said he passed from congestive heart failure from a blood clot.
Yep. So it was honestly super, super sad. This was really a really sad episode. Tombstone Jesus says lean and mean. But yeah, so that was that. It was, once again, how I said, it was nothing it was not it's Dark Side of the Ring for a reason.
Yeah.
We watched this, we reviewed it in the eyes of a wrestling student, someone in the business, Simi, and just kind of just, it's a life lesson that is learned. You know, if you can, just, you know, try not to, you know, it's just a lot. This is a great thing to watch, to reflect on, to learn from.
Yeah.
So
everyone can take their own bits and pieces away from this how they like to.
Absolutely. So
definitely.
So, yep, that was it, guys. That was our review of Dark Side of the Ring, Terry Gordy. What a legend that man was. And I love how they, you know, really displayed Miranda Gordy, which I hope nothing but the best for her career coming up. Exactly. I think that she's definitely a talent that would be great for any organization. And just, you know, once again, Dark Side of the Ring. If it's this dark, it's hard to even review them because that was really sad. You know, the last two were sad, but, you know, this was super sad. So we'll be back live Thursday for You Ought to Know, episode 19. I'll be live with Tombstone Jesus. I believe we'll have some guests be popping in. And, yeah, we'll be live Thursday, guys, on YouTube. Please don't forget to subscribe and like. I mean, dude, here's some photos real quick. Man, that Japan match was so fucking badass. You know, you got the Freebirds just killing it with the Von Erichs. I mean,
look at the arena, just freaking packed house.
Packed houses. Once again, guys, if you could subscribe on YouTube, we appreciate it. My name is Otto Von Clutch, and this is Referee Amber.
Yes, I am. Referee Amber. Join us next time for our review of Dark Side of the Ring. Thank you for watching. Definitely click on the subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Later, guys.